Paul, thank you so much for joining us today on Startup Steroid and talking to us about Wooduchoose, the essentially the home of the wood, if you would, right? That's your tagline. But yeah, the woodworking is one of my hobbies, so I'm really excited for this conversation and really want to dig into how you're sort of approaching this industry. But before we actually get into the company, let's start with your background. How did you sort of get into woodworking and joinery and all those things? Where did you start?
Of course, yeah. Well, firstly, thanks very much for inviting me to have a chat. Background-wise, my grandfather, my father were both woodworkers, joiners. They made windows, doors, staircases, that type of thing. So it's in my blood. When I left school, I got quickly involved in a family business, which was a joinery, a woodworking business, with a parent company as a construction business as well. So I got quite quickly into construction. I was trained as a quantity surveyor, but I ran the joinery business as well, and wood very much quite quickly became my passion. I just love everything about it. You know, my family will tell you wherever I go, I'll be pointing out different wood and telling them what it is and what it's good for. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the industry was through family and background through there.
Fantastic. So yeah, it's in your blood, which is amazing. That's exactly what we like to hear in the founders. How did your career sort of manifest itself? Where did you start, and how did you enter the business, if you would?
Okay, so I suppose like many youngsters at sort of 16, 17, I wasn't too sure what I wanted to do. I was in the British education, going through there, and I did GCSEs, which you finish at 16, and A levels up to 18. And my father said to me that if you don't have something structured to go into, I'm not supporting you. Need to come to work. So pretty much when I finished my A levels, I went straight into the family business, and I started very much from the ground up. Literally, I was a labourer, you know, carrying blocks and bricks and helping woodworkers and carpenters. And then I did a course, a construction course in college, which was what they call I'm just trying to think of the name of the course, so long ago now. But anyway, I did that for a period of time. An HNC it ended up being, which is a higher national certificate, which is done when you're outside, when you're in work and you're doing that on the side. High national diploma would be if I was doing it full time. So I was working doing that, yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
And with quantity surveying, I was very much office based. So quantity surveying was where I sort of firstly went into.
Got it. So you're essentially within the family business and sort of learning and growing as you go along. How long did that sort of last, and what was that experience like working for your dad and your grandfather?
Challenging, but it was great. Obviously, I learned everything that, you know, obviously they taught me, and the whole construction industry. In the end, I became a chartered construction manager. So throughout I was there for 25 years. I took over the business when I was quite young. I was 24 when I took over as a contracts manager, so sort of ran the site. And then later in the transition, I took the business over. I ran and owned both businesses. There was a construction business and a separate joinery business making, you know, woodwork. So I was in a really good position to launch this type of business because we were the seller, as in, you know, we made joinery and wooden products, so we needed to find buyers. But on the construction side, we were also the buyer. We had to go and buy wooden products. We knew how the construction procurement worked. So I was sort of fairly well positioned to be able to come up with this concept. And the other part of it for me is I'm very passionate about technology, and I would always try and find efficient ways of doing things and that type of thing. So it's sort of all blended together, the wood background, my love for technology, and how could I make a platform that would enable us to be able to sell wood and help others sell wood as well, which is where it sort of led to.
Fantastic. So I think that's a perfect sort of introduction to Wooduchoose. Tell me what that initial concept was, what the problem was, and what the solution in your mind was.
Yeah, so as I said, we had a joinery business at the time, and we'd actually invested in some quite big machinery, and we sort of looked at how can we find other customers to keep this machine running full time effectively. So we got talking and thinking about other ways of doing it, and making wooden profiles and sections to order was a big thing of what we did, and that's what part of the machine was. And we thought, okay, well, if we come up with lots of profiles and moldings and designs that we can basically publish online, but give people the ability to choose what wood they want it manufactured in. So if you liked walnut and you wanted to deck out your apartment with walnut skirting and cladding and decking and whatever, you could choose that through our platform. So we started very much just from our joinery business. And then all of a sudden we realized, actually, we have got really good interest here. We could actually take this a stage further and connect with other people in a similar position and help them sell their products and connect buyers to them. So that's where it sort of started and where it grew from.
Interesting. Okay, so you're essentially running a business, and then Wooduchoose essentially was an add-on to that business to begin with, right? You were sort of scratching your own itch, if you would.
No, very much so. It was like very much a background thing that we were sort of developing as we went. We sort of posted it online as part of the business that we had, and realized that, and that was where we probably had the light bulb moment, that realized that not only could we couldn't keep up with the demand ourselves, but also there was lots of other inquiries that were coming off the back of that. And we thought, actually, you know, we buy from other people, we could connect to them and vice versa. But it was very much in the background, yeah.
Got it. So I think this is a perfect time to sort of highlight the time frame, because when investors log in and see your profile, they'll notice that you've been at this for about 8 years, over 8 years now. A vast majority of that was that period, right? So walk us through those first couple of years. What were you sort of trying to achieve in the first, let's say 3 to 4 years of this business?
Of course. So when we started it early on, or we came up with the idea initially, it sort of grew in the sense of, this is a really complicated concept that we have to design, if you like, for want of a better word, because there's so many variables within our industry. There's obviously hundreds of different wood species. There's lots of different ways in which the wood is produced, the wood is milled, there's different section sizes. Some wood works for some things and doesn't work for others. So we had to sort of take a step back and think, okay, how can we automate a very complex process? So it involved a huge amount of research, a lot of massive Excel spreadsheets that had to come up with formulas and all the rest of it. So it was being built very much like you said. I was working in full-time in business, so it was having to be done in the background. But all the time, it became more and more my sort of drive and passion, and to a point where we thought, okay, 2012, when the idea came, if you like, we launched a very simple version of Wooduchoose in 2016, and very quickly, the first year, we already started to see revenue with no marketing whatsoever, no full-time staff. Again, I was still part-time doing it. 2017 was where it really sort of took off in this very small version of the site. And at that point, we had to say, well, we need to hang on here. We need to rebuild this as we'd always dreamed of, automate it, use some artificial intelligence, build the data so that we can manage the way that's going to work, and then make it scalable. So really realize the vision that we'd had. So 2017, we sort of, again, we'd never really promoted it, but we took a further step back. We left the platform online, but we took some revenue, but we weren't actively trading as such. So in that next period, we went through the research and development that has got us to this new platform now, which has got multiple revenue streams, pretty much 99% automated process, right through from payment to supplier payout is almost all automated. So there's, like I said, there's a bit of logic to the journey, and if I showed you what we had to do to get there, and like I said from the start, the unique position that I had meant that I think it made it possible for me to actually identify these different methods of manufacture, these different species, and that type of thing. So it took a bit of doing to get.
So let me see if I can summarize that in 20 seconds or less. The first 4 years, let's say 2012 to 2016, was essentially a hobby, and you're sort of educating yourself in what the marketplace needs. 2016 to, let's say, 2020 was when it really became a business. And now, whatever you had on the front end, you left it there. But in the back, you're now starting to develop an actual business around Wooduchoose and building the databases and the processes. Does that capture it?
Correct. It was the way you put it was much better than the way I did.
Okay, so once now let's talk about that last 4 years. What's in the front end? What is generating revenue? Just give me a sort of a big picture view on what's actually working in the business.
Okay, so up to now, from 16 when we launched to now to 2020, has been very much that customized product process. So a customer comes online, they create their product or they submit their inquiry, and it goes off to the suppliers. They submit their prices back, they choose the best price, and we take a commission on that sale. We connect them. It's an automated process, and we take a commission on that sale. That's the only revenue stream we've had to date. It's been a very successful one, but like you said, we've changed the platform to have multiple revenue streams going forward.
Got it. So I understand the marketplace concept where you're just connecting buyers and sellers. What were you sort of developing in the back end? What was the vision that you were trying to implement between 2016 and 2020?
Yeah, so it was, before then it had been very much a sort of almost a bit of a manual process. The inquiry would come through, but it would have to be assessed. We'd have to identify who would best work with it, send it off. Then we'd upload that information to then push out to the customer. Whereas now, you as the customer would go online, you upload your information. It would automatically, that's what we've built in the automation process. And even to the level of when a supplier submits suppliers submit their prices back, it adds whatever margin based on different criteria, and then it automatically goes to the customer. And it also highlights certain things that we wouldn't want the customer to be, if there was any language that you wouldn't want to use in a submission, or if the price we actually give the customer a guide price to start with. So we're giving our suppliers qualified leads. We're not just bombarding them with random inquiries, because it is a pretty specialized product. So we want the customer to be committing, if you like, to buying it before we start sending it off to the suppliers. So if we give a supplier a guide price, a range, which we do for this customer, when the supplier submits the price back, our system also looks at, okay, is that way above, they made a mistake, before it goes off to the customer. So again, that's an automated process. So all that building and automation has been where that platform's had to develop.
Fantastic. Okay. So I understand what the business is doing. As far as your time commitment, is obviously the first 2012 to 2016, you were essentially part-time. It was essentially a hobby running in the background. 2016 to 2020, what was you're obviously still running your family business. Are you what was your time commitment like? Was it increasing during that time frame?
Yeah. So I actually, the family business, we sold one of the businesses, and then we actually got offered an opportunity overseas. So I was working in a full-time job, as you've said, and building this, again, still in the background. My wife was running the business from an administration point of view, and my colleague, who isn't a co-founder as such, but he's been with us from the start. He runs the business in the UK. So It was balancing family commitments and bills, and also every spare bit of cash, every spare bit of time I've had has been on Wooduchoose, to build this platform that can be scalable. I think that's the best way to describe it.
Got it. Okay, so I think that brings us to 2020. Were you in the market during the pandemic? What was sort of the impact, if any?
Yeah, we were. I mean, like I say, we weren't actively trading as such. The platform has been there. People have found us. People use us, and we've had considerable revenue over 2020. But like I say, we've not marketed or advertised it. We do see a huge opportunity. Timing couldn't be better for us, because the shift like this, having meetings online and trading online, has been, our industry's been slow to sort of embrace that, but the industry's almost been forced into it, and our platform is naturally built for that. So 2020, yeah, didn't have a huge impact on us, other than we could see a even bigger opportunity, really.
Got it, got it. And obviously, people have been, once they're locked in and they're sort of homebound, now people are finding all sorts of ways to sort of improve their homes and find, the to-do projects around the house. So the marketplace is obviously primed for this. So let's talk about now 2021 and where you are today and what's sort of the hope for the next 12 months.
Yeah, so we've got a pretty sort of a structured plan in how we want to. I suppose 2021 really is about raising the profile of the business, what we do, and also raising the awareness and the trust of the brand. Because I think when people are buying things online, and it's not like we're selling widgets that you can go and compare and you know exactly what you're getting. You're buying a bespoke, often you're buying a bespoke or a custom made product. So we need to raise awareness, we need to raise trust. We also need to encourage more suppliers to use the platform to give our customers more choice. So we've got a pretty structured view on how to do that. But 2021 is really about awareness and building the profile, building the brand.
Perfect, perfect. Before we go any further, I want to sort of just make sure that we're clear on your customer and your sort of supplier, and we sort of define those things because woodworking obviously is a pretty large market, so we want to make sure that we sort of understand the game that we're playing. First of all, tell me your customer, who's sort of buying off of your platform.
Okay, so right now we focus very much on the construction sector and the professional buyer. That's been architects, contractors, DIY, people working at home, but people that are doing renovations, that type of thing. And that's, we've sort of gained a bit of traction there by, we offer our profiles and our product designs online that architects can download. And we found that when they've downloaded them, they've used them in their building designs, and then we become specified in contracts, building contracts. So very much to date, it's been the professional user, and that will continue. But we'll also be adding the layer of the more consumer type products, people that might make, wooden coasters and anything made of wood, basically, that people can sell online to consumers. That's the next sort of level, if you like. So to date, very much the construction industry, and our suppliers are professional woodworkers, basically from a small joinery shop that might make windows and doors to, we work with some big international players that supply bulk timber, and they almost become, well, they don't almost, they do become buyers and sellers from each other on our platform as well. So some of our smaller buyers might buy raw timber from our larger suppliers.
Got it. So as an investor, the first thing I'm thinking about in this marketplace are the largest players, are the lumber yards, are the big box like Home Depot, Lowe's. Those are usually where the construction folks go to get their supplies. Are you competing with them, or are you partnering with them? Tell me how that sort of piece fits into the puzzle.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose all of those people are potentially our partners. I think anything that's sort of standard run-of-the-mill type wood products, we probably stay away from, in the sense of like Home Depot type standard. I don't know if that's the right word, standard, but it's more the slightly unique species, maybe the professional buyers that are making wooden products that need certain grades of timber. We wouldn't. They are potentially our partners, but we wouldn't necessarily work with Lowe's or Home Depot. But we do work with some of the really big wood players. We work with a company called International Timber that is huge in the UK, and it's actually got global presence with Sam Caban. They're a big company that sort of a big player, and they work with us. So it's more professional in that sense of the specific woods.
Okay, so let me just have that discussion in a slightly different way, where we're not talking about the standard 2x4 that you can pick up at any lumber yard, right? We're talking about specialty moldings or a certain grade of woods. If you're looking for that Brazilian cherry, if you that's really the market you're playing in. Is that right?
I dressed around it a bit, but that's pretty much it. The 2x2 planed or 4x2 planed stuff that you might buy, that isn't what we're about. No.
Okay, got it. And that specialty woods are usually much harder to find, and that's where you can really shine and you can really make that connection between the buyer and the seller.
Yeah, and like I said, our system has sort of some pretty unique tools and dynamic methods of being able to determine what's the best wood for a particular solution, based on what you're trying to achieve with your project. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so you're going in that regard. You're going a step further. It's not just me asking for item A and you handing me item A. It's me saying, hey, I have this project. What do I need? And then you suggesting the right product for that project.
Exactly that. If you could go onto our system, our platform, and say, I don't know, you're making some wooden windows and you want a certain look, certain feel. You could filter that by, okay, well, I want it to look like this color. I want to paint it. I want something that's durable, and it would sort of help you determine what the best wood for that product is, to steer you away. Because I mean, you could make things out of any wood, but they won't last very long if they're not the right species and that type of thing.
Right. This is really interesting because I almost see multiple tiers in your business where you may start with a large wholesaler, multinational who might be importing certain things, etc. Then sort of a local player who might buy from that, and then the local player might, if we're talking about molding, might cut a molding in a certain way, essentially becomes a supply for the next tier. Do you see your industry in that sort of multi-tier approach? Does that make sense?
Yeah. 100%. I mean, we see it very much as an ecosystem for the wood industry. So we cater for exporters, lumber mills, people that are actually raw sourcing the timber right through to the end user. And we've sort of researched how they sell and promote their products. So we even look at some of the international sellers that might have, I don't know, Burma teak or something, or teak's probably less likely, but whatever, teak that they might sell in hundreds of cubic meters, they market that in a certain way, they sell it in a certain way, but our platform allows them to open, like you said, other supplies to benefit from that.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. So let's talk about the specific markets that you're in. Obviously the platform is a digital platform. It's scalable. I know you're initially based out of UK. Right now, I believe you're traveling. So what markets are you going after? Are you going after a specific geographical region?
Yeah, so 2021 is very much getting a stronghold in the UK, but we're also looking to expand to the US and Canada, which obviously is a huge marketplace for timber. You guys use probably more than anybody, so
yep.
that's the plan initially, and then obviously as things expand, we've got other territories that we feel that this platform would work for.
Okay. Have you run any tests in the US Canadian market yet, or is it a pure virgin market right now?
It's it is pretty virgin market. I mean, I have made some contacts there, and we do actually have some interest there. And the moment we have to say that we don't have suppliers in your jurisdiction, but we're already starting to see traffic coming from the US asking if we can supply certain things. So, and that's again without promoting or marketing it. So, yeah, we already have a couple of suppliers that we've started talking with in the US, in Canada actually. So yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so now I think I pretty much understand, what you're trying to achieve. What's the grander vision? 3, 5 years out. What are you hoping to achieve in that in the long run?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose like anything, there's got to be an exit strategy at some point, and we sort of have seen that realistic, like you said, it's a very scalable model. There's very little in the terms of there's no geographical ties. There's very little overheads versus revenue, because even right now it's very, very scalable. So we see maybe 5 years would be our sort of exit strategy, and the type of people that we might see would be interested in maybe buying it or acquiring it would be either people for the software and the technology, because there's some unique elements of that, or it could be an individual or a financial investor that just wants to have an investment where it pretty much does it for them, because that's pretty much how the platform's been designed.
Got it. So it's essentially, Amazon, or a marketplace for anything and everything wood related. That's the vision.
It's a good analogy. One of the companies that we sometimes refer to as similar, but it isn't necessarily all wood based, is I don't know if you know a company called Etsy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they sort of our other model that we sort of touched on, where people can sell their own wooden products like craft workers or whatever, but very much wood only. Etsy do that obviously for wood and other products as well, jewelry, but it's very much the craft worker or the buyer that's making something unique and bespoke, if you like. So that we sort of use that as a bit of a comparison. And like you said, Amazon for wood is another one.
Right. No, that's perfect. It's a fantastic vision, and you certainly have wood in your blood. So you seem to be the right guy to execute on that strategy. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for doing the interview today. I really appreciated getting to know you and getting to know your company. I'm really excited by what you guys can achieve. So fantastic. Good work.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for the feedback, and thanks for helping me out where I got a bit lost.
No worries. Yeah, I hope to continue the conversation in the future, and we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.